From what we are given here, we are actually asked to what? To find the general solution for our given what? Second ordinary differential what? Equation. Now the first thing you do is to ask yourself, what is our general solution? Now your general solution is actually given as your general solution is actually given to be what? CF plus what? P what? I. Or better still, you can have what? YCF plus what? YPI. Where we know that our CF is what we call our complementary what? Function. While your PI is called what? Your particular what? Integral. So when you are given an equation of this nature, the first thing to do is to get the complementary function of this equation. After getting the complementary function, use your complementary function, deduce an equation with your particular what? Integral through your complementary function. Impute them together, add them together, and you get what? The general solution of that what? Particular equation given to you. Now, let's solve this. The first thing you do first is to check your equation, to check if your equation is homogeneous or not. You always tell your examiner that, oh, this equation is homogeneous. Oh, this equation is not what? Homogeneous. From what we have here, we can see that our given equation here is not what? Homogeneous. Why is it not homogeneous? Because it is not equated to what? 0. So your given equation here is what? Non-homogeneous. Non-what? Homogeneous. So what you have here is what? A non-homogeneous what? Equation. Non-homogeneous what? Equation. Reason being that it is not equated to what? 0. Are we together? That's why it is non-homogeneous. Had it been it is equated to 0, then this equation is what? Homogeneous. Are we together? Now, after considering that your equation is non-homogeneous, the first thing you do is to get the auxiliary equation from your given what? Differential what? Equation. Now remember, when we want to get our auxiliary equation, we always what? Assume. Are we together? Now, if you want to get your auxiliary equation, we assume that m square is equal to what? D square y over what? Dx square. We also assume that what? M is equal to what? Dy over what? Dx. Are we together? And finally, we assume that partial of if we differentiate 6y with respect to what? With respect to y, we'll simply have what? 6. Are we together? So we are assuming that your 6y here will be equal to what? 6. Are we together? So your new equation from your auxiliary equation will simply be what? Y will be equal to m square plus what? Remember, what you have there, is it plus or minus? We'll simply have minus 5. So what you have here will simply be what? Minus. So take down the correction. Here will simply be what? Minus what? 5x. Is it 5x? You simply have 5 what? M, not x. Remember, your dy over dx is equal to what? M. So what you have here will simply be what? 5 what? 5m, right? And that will be what? Plus 6. So you have plus 6 here. So this is your auxiliary what? Equation. After getting your auxiliary equation, we can see that our auxiliary equation is having the form of a quadratic what? Equation. Are we together? So what you simply do is you solve the equation quadratically. Solving the equation quadratically, we are going to equate this with what? 0. So you simply have m square minus what? 5m plus what? 6, and this will be equal to what? 0. We can see that we now have what? A quadratic what? Equation. What's our interest when we are considering quadratic equation? Our interest is to consider what? The root of our given equation. And the root of our given equation is always what? In 2. Why I said in 2 is because you are going to get 2 answers as your root. Are we together? And that will tell you that you are going to get m1 and what? m2. Are we together? Now, what do you do? For you to do that is the concept behind quadratic equation is either you use factorization method or basically use your what? Your quadratic formula in solving this problem. Let's use our factorization method because we can factor out something here. Factoring out a value here, we can factor out minus what? Minus 2 and minus 3. Why do we say minus 2 and minus 3? The concept is very simple. Look for two numbers that when you add them, you get minus 5, and when you multiply them, you get what? 6. Those numbers are what? Minus 2 and what? Minus what? 3. So basically, using factorization method, you simply have this to be what? M minus 2, and this will be what? M minus what? 3, and this will be equal to 0. Such that when you expand this bracket, you simply arrive at what? This particular what? Equation. Are we together? But remember, our interest is the root of the equation, which is what? M1 and M2. So from what we have here, we can equate M minus 2 to be equal to 0, and we get our M1 here to be what? 2. Because your minus 2 is crossing what? An equality sign, which is what? Plus 2. So you have your M2 here. M2 will simply be what? M minus what? 3 equal to 0. And your M2 will be equal to what? 3, because minus 3 will be crossing an equality sign. Now you can see that your M1 is equal to what? 2, and your M2 is equal to what? 3. Looking at these two values, are they the same? No. So we can say that M1 is not equal to what? M2. And what's the concept behind M1 not equal to M2? The concept is actually y will simply be what? A exponential m1x plus what? B exponential m2x. This is the concept. So if you apply that, you simply have that y will now be equal to what? A exponential raised to the power of, what is your m1? Your m1 is 2, right? So you have 2x plus b exponential raised to the power of m2 is what? 3. So you have 3x here. So this is your what? Your complementary what? Function of your given what? Equation. Since you've gotten your complementary function of your given equation, what do? You simply get the what? The particular what? Integral of your equation, which is what? Pi. Now I told you, now to get your pi, you bring out an equation that is similar to your given what? Equation, which is what? Your auxiliary equation. Bring out an equation that is similar to your auxiliary equation. Now we can deduce an equation that is similar to our auxiliary equation. So you can take down, for your particular integral, for your what? Particular what? Integral, we can deduce an equation that looks like our auxiliary equation, and we say that what? Y will be equal to what? Cx squared plus what? Dx plus what? E. This equation is similar to our auxiliary equation. Let's confirm. Remember, auxiliary equation is having a square here. What are we seeing here? We are seeing what? X here. What are we seeing here? Our auxiliary equation is having what? M here. And we are seeing a constant here. And that constant for your particular integral for your given equation is now what? E. The next thing is to get the differential for your each, to get the differential, to differentiate with respect to what? X here. Now if you differentiate this with respect to x, if you differentiate this equation with respect to x, you simply have that dy over what? Dx will simply be what? 2cx plus what? D. Are we together? Now you've differentiated this equation with respect to x. What do you do next? You differentiate again. If you are differentiating again, you simply have that this square y over what? Dx square, and that will give you what? 2c. Are we together? So what do? Since you've gotten your dy over dx and you've gotten your d square y over what? Dx square, what you do is you pick this equation and you impute it back into our given equation, which was what? D square y over dx square minus 5 dy over dx plus 6y, and that equation will be equal to x square. Are we together? So what we simply do is you are picking these values here and you are replacing it into this equation. Are we together? But recall that we were given our given equation. Our given equation was what? D square y over what? Dx square minus 5 dy over what? Dx plus 6y, and this is equal to x square. So what you are doing is, anywhere you see d square y over what? Dx square, you are imputing what? 2cx plus d. Are we together? So that will give us, from what we have here, we'll simply have that your d square y over dx square will simply be what? 2cx plus what? D minus 5. What is now this dy over dx? Dy over dx, what we have here is 2c, so this is 2c, not 2cx. So this is 2c, right? Then we have plus 5, this is 5. And what is your dy over dx? Your dy over dx, remember this is minus, right? So you have minus here, minus 5, which is this, and you have dy over what? Dx. What's dy over dx? 2cx plus d. So this will be in bracket 2cx plus what? D. That's what we have there. And that will be our close bracket plus, we have plus here. Remember, this is 6y. And what's your y? Your y is what? Cx squared. So you have 6 brackets. Your y is now what? Cx squared plus what? Dx plus what? E. And this equation is equal to x squared, which is showing us that our equation is what? Non-homogeneous. So what we simply do is we can expand. We can expand from what we have here. So if we expand from what we have there, remember this is what? 2c, right? Minus into 2cx, we'll have 10, right? So that will be 10. 5 times 2 is 10. So you have 10cx minus 5 times d here, and that will give you what? 5d. Plus you expand this. If we expand this, we'll simply have that 6 is multiplying all through. And if 6 is multiplying all through, that will give us 6cx squared plus what? 6dx plus 6 what? E. And this will be equal to what? X squared. Now, we can still simplify this further. Simplifying this further, we can take those like terms one side. If you take those like terms one side, we can take 6cx squared to as our initial. So if we do that, we'll simply have this to be what? We'll simply have this to be 6cx squared minus, remember this is what? Cx, and this is what? 6dx. We can put them together. Then this we'll simply have this to be equating x outside. We'll have x outside, and we'll have 10c, which is this, and this will be what? Plus what? 6d. 6 what? D. Are we together? Now what are we now left with? We are now left with the remaining values, which are what? 2c, 6e, right? And what? 5d. So this will be plus 2c minus what? 5d plus what? 6 what? E. And this will be equal to what? X squared. Are we done? No, we are not done. So since we are not done, the next thing we have to do is to compare. Comparing, we want to compare so we can get the value for what? C, D, and what? E. Now, comparing from our first value there, if we are comparing our first value, which is 6x squared, if we want to compare our first value, we'll simply have that 6c will be equal to what? 1. So what do you think our c will be? Our c here will simply be what? 1 divided by what? 6, because your 6 will be dividing all through, and you have what? 1 divided by what? 6. Are we together? Now let's go to the next parameter here. The next parameter we are seeing there is what? 10c plus what? 6 what? D. And we can equate this to what? 0. So if we equate this to 0, remember we are comparing. If we equate this to 0, we already know what is what? C, right? And we know that C is what? 1 over 6. Remember, our interest is to get what D is. So your D here will simply be what? We are taking this to the other side of your equation. If you do that, this will simply be what? 10c, and c is 1 over 6. So 1 divided by 6 divided by, remember you'll be dividing both sides with what? 6. So you simply have that your D, if you punch your calculator, your D will be 5 divided by what? 18. Confirm with your calculator and drop a thumbs up if the answers are what? Correct on the comment section. The next thing is to get what is E. Comparing to get what is E. Now if you want to compare to get what is E, remember E is what? 2c minus 5d plus what? 6e. So what you have here will be what? 2c minus what? 5d plus what? 6e, and we are equating this to what? 0, because we want to compare. If we are comparing, our interest is to get what is E, right? So all other values will be crossing an equality sign to the other side. Or better still, we can still represent this to be 2 into C is 1/6, right? And this will be minus what? 5. And D is what? We know D to be what? What's our D? Remember, we calculated D to be what? 5/18. So we have D here to be what? 5/18, right? And this is in brackets plus 6 what? E, and this will be equal to what? 0. Now, our interest to get is to get what E is. Are we together? So to get what E is, we can take this to the other side of our equation. We can take everything here to the other side of your equation. Or better still, you can still punch your calculator. What is this value here? Remember, to get your E, we are dividing all through here with what? We are dividing all through here with we are dividing all through with what? We are dividing all through with 6. Are we together? So to get your E, we will simply have that. So what you have here, if you punch your calculator, you have that 2 of 1/6 minus 5 of what? 5/8. This will give you minus what? 19 over what? 18 plus what? 6 what? E. And this will be equal to 0. So what you simply have is 6e is equal to 19 over what? 18, because this is crossing an equality sign. So what will you simply have? You simply have this to be what? E, and E will be dividing what? E will be dividing what? 6. E here will be dividing what? 6. Are we together? Now if you punch your calculator, you can simply have this to be written as 19 over what? 18 times 1 over what? 6. Are we together? Now if you do that, you simply have that your E here will be equal to what? Minus 19. Remember, that minus has been cancelled out, so we have plus 19 over what? 108. That's what I have on my calculator. Get your answers and drop it on the comment section. So what you do next is, since you've gotten that your E is equal to what? 19 over what? 108. You simply get your, you simply apply this back to this equation. Since you've gotten E to be 19 over 108, we simply take the values of our given parameters, which are C, D, E, to our given equation. Now remember, your given equation was what? What we have here. This was our given equation, right? So since we are given this, and we know that for our PI equation is what we have here. This is our PI equation. So you can write this to be YPI. So since we've gotten the values for C, D, and E, we are inputting those values into this equation here. So if you do that, we know that YPI will be equal to, what's the value we have there? What's the equation we have there? CX squared. So this is CX squared, right? And CX squared plus what? So we have CX squared plus DX plus E. So this is CX squared plus what? DX plus what? E. And this is equal to, we already know our C. What's our C? Our C was 1/6. So this is 1 divided by 6 of what? X squared plus what? What's your D? Your D was given to be 15. 15 over 18. So you have your D there to be what? 15 divided by what? 18x plus what? What's your E? Your E was now finally given to be 19 divided by what? 108. So you simply have that your E is what? 19 divided by what? 108. So what you simply do is we rearrange this equation. And if you rearrange this equation, you simply have x squared divided by 6 plus what? 15x divided by what? 18 plus 19 divided by 108. So simply you've gotten the equation for, you've gotten your answer for your what? Your particular what? Integral. And you've also gotten your answer for your what? Your what? You've also gotten your answer for your what? Complementary function, which is what? A exponential 2x plus what? B exponential what? 3x. So what you do is you impute these values into your general solution. And your general solution, remember that your general solution is given to be what? CF plus what? PI. So what's your CF? Your CF is simply what? Your CF was calculated to be, your CF was calculated to be what? A exponential 2x. So you have A exponential, you have A exponential what? 2x plus what? B exponential what? 3x plus what's now your PI? Your PI is now given to be what? What is this? You have x squared divided by 6. So this is x squared divided by what? 6 plus 15x divided by what? 18 plus what? 19 divided by what? 108. So this is the general solution for your given what? Integral. And this is what you are asked to what? To calculate for. Is that not simple? So you've simply gotten the general solution for our given integral, which was what? Was given to be what? D square y over what? Dx square minus what? 5 dy over dx plus 6y, and that is equal to what? X square.